Okay, welcome back. This is part 2 of building the wife's new computer. In the last episode, you'll have seen that I purchased a computer from a second-hand store within the UK called CEX. I bought this for £135, and I think it's really good value at this present moment in time, due to the fact that it has a i5-10400 in here, and that alone being at the moment on Amazon for 154 quid. I think that is a very, very good deal. It does need some improvements, so I've done some research and I've looked at what needs to be upgraded. So let's get to it. Okay, firstly, after some research of this particular machine, I found that this motherboard has an M.2 slot. So therefore, I've ordered an M.2 drive. I've only ordered a 1TB drive, but what I've actually ordered is a Kioxia 1TB Acer G2 NVMe SSD. This is a Gen 3 NVMe. It has read-write speeds of 2100 megabytes per second, so should improve the speeds of the machine. If you remember, it was really slow and it took a very long time to load. So this will help with the speeds a hell of a lot. With this, I'm also going to add a heatsink to this particular one, and this one is the Thermalright M.2 2280 heatsink for this, made of aluminium. This only cost a few pounds from Amazon, so therefore really good. Should hopefully help improve the performance of that NVMe drive because it's got the heatsink on it. The second upgrade that I'm going to add to this machine is extra RAM. So if you remember from the previous episode, we actually had 8 GB of RAM built into this machine as standard. That came in one stick. One stick of memory isn't really good enough. So I've gone out and I've purchased Crucial DDR4 Pro. I've purchased a 32 gig kit, which comes in 2 sticks of 16. This comes at 3200 megatransfers per second, and this will be a significant upgrade for that wonderful 10400 processor that's built into this computer. One of the last and final upgrades that I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the standard cooler that the Acer has with an Acer copper core CPU. It's not the most expensive, but apparently, according to the website, it can deal with 115 watt TDP. So this should be more than adequate for what I actually need for this particular computer. Before I do any upgrades, what I try to do is I tried to do some benchmarks with this machine. However, this wonderful mechanical drive that's built into this computer was set to 100% all the time. And this was like this for over an hour with Windows 11. I couldn't get it to respond to anything, and I had to physically unplug that computer to be able to get it so that I could get to this stage and be able to upgrade this machine. I'm hoping that with all these upgrades that I'm doing, this is going to make a vast improvement, especially to the hard drive. Now, you are going to see that I'm going to keep the mechanical drive. Now, my wife at this present moment in time has a normal 2.5 inch SSD and a 3.5 inch 1TB hard drive. The hard drive is used to store all her normal excess amounts of data, and the 1TB 2.5 inch SSD is for her operating system. Even just adding the Kioxia drive to this new system here is going to improve the speeds tremendously. So therefore, let's get on to the upgrades themselves. So here we have the machine, and with this I'm going to start doing the upgrades themselves. Now, I know that part of this does need to come apart. So first of all, let's see if we can get the front cover off. So after doing the research, I need to take the front cover off. There we go. Because unfortunately, to be able to change the heatsink and fan on this particular machine, I actually need to take the whole motherboard out so that I can get underneath and take off the backplate. So I will first of all remove the mechanical hard drive that we have installed here. This drive cage from here. So remove that drive, fantastic. That's now out of the way. And looking at this, I must need to remove these 3 screws on the front, these 6 screws here on the front, so that I can remove the motherboard from this particular machine itself, because the USB, the front plate that I'm unscrewing at the moment at the front down here is actually holding in the front of the motherboard. So there's 3 screws there. Let's get that. I shall remove this. There we go. That must be for the USB. Oh no, that's for the card reader. Fab. So we can see that the tray for the hard drive is actually moving when I remove these. So there we go, that is the 6 screws removed. Hopefully this should now just pop out, he says. Let me have a look. Actually no, there's a screw all the way down here which is holding it in as well. There we go. Fabulous. Just get that screw, liberate it. And here we can see that we have the M.2 slot. This is a very strange shaped motherboard. Seems to have this chunk here stuck out of the front, which is really strange. Okay, so let's first of all liberate this heatsink. It's not screwed in very deeply, so it doesn't take much to get it out. So one heatsink out of the way. And we don't need memory because we're going to upgrade that too. And let's have a look. So we've got the SATA connector there. Might need to take this power over there. That's it. Good, excellent. This is the front I/O. Fabulous. And then we have our Wi-Fi connectors here. These look like they are taped down. So if I'm very careful, I should be able to remove that tape so I can stick it back down. What I'll do is I'll pop it here so that I know where it is. And again, this motherboard is quite a weird shape, but it looks very well put together. It does look like it has an 8-pin power for the CPU at the top there. So that's telling me that yes, it does work with the 4-pin, but if I was to put a K model in here, for example, not that it can overclock, but if I put a K model in here, for example, I would be able to overclock it if I added the extra supplemental power. And so white at the top and the black one at the bottom. Fabulous. So that's now that out of the way. Let's remove these screws from here. Lots of screws in this section. And it even looks like that the motherboard actually has a back plate to it. So you could potentially pop this in a different case. Not that you'd want to, because it's a bit of a weird shape, and the USB on the front is pretty much designed to fit only in this chassis. So you wouldn't really want to stick it in any other case but the one that it's in now. So here we go. Let's see if we can remove this. So a bit strange because I'm going to have to pull it forward and then I'm going to have to tilt it up and then hopefully pull the USB 3 off and up we go. Oops, a bit stuck. Oh no. Ah, why do they always get stuck in the silly places? Right, so fabulous. Motherboard out. So let's move the chassis out of the way. We now have the motherboard. Now the beauty behind the cooler that I've picked is that it follows the standard mounting system that an Intel CPU would have. It has these weird push pins. Some people don't particularly like the push pins, but again, I think they're relatively easy to maneuver around. This isn't really going to come back out of the machine once it's in, but it's got a significantly bigger and deeper set of fins. It's got a copper core, so it's going to dissipate that heat very, very quickly. Now, one of the problems with this is that I have to take this back plate off, and I think that this back plate is going to be stuck down with some double-sided tape, which means it's going to be very difficult to remove. So I'm going to use the back of my knife to be able to get under there, or not. Let's see, can I? Oh, there we go. It feels like it's ripping, but what I'm actually doing is lifting it off. And I know some of you are thinking, but Neil, you haven't taken the actual thermal paste off the bottom. Well, I haven't taken the thermal paste off because I'm an idiot, but I'm going to do it now. So I'll just get myself some tissue. I'll remove this from here, like so, because again, the nice thing about the Acer is that it already has thermal paste already applied. So all this is already pre-applied for you. I'm going to make sure that it's an orientation where the fan can be plugged in with as little slack in there as possible. Excellent. So push that down just like this, making sure that they're all nice and tight. Excellent. And then we shall route this very carefully so it's all tidy and plug in the fan. Fantastic. That's one job done. Now what I'm going to do is, before I overcrowd this motherboard and aren't able to get my hands back in here, I'm now going to fit it back in the case. So let me move some of these wires again so that I can get in. Again, I have to do this in a weird way. Put this in first. Make sure to move that. Then I can put that there, in there like that. That's good. Excellent. So we're actually in. Fantastic. I will make sure these are routed first, which is good. Change my screwdriver around so that I can screw everything back in, plug in supplemental power into the correct port as previous, and here we go, back in we go with the screws. So already that heatsink looks a little bit better than the one that was already there. So I'm hoping that this is going to help with cooling. Not that it had an issue before. When we looked in BIOS last time, it was only running at like 30-40 degrees. So it's not very hot anyway, but hopefully this will improve longevity, because I've no idea how long that particular cooler that was on there originally was in use for. Okay, so that's that in. Fabulous. We'll plug this back in so it's there. I shall make sure these are in properly. So I think it was black at the bottom, white at the top. And again, these are really fiddly to get in. I could just unplug the card, but where would the fun be in that? I'll give up now. Need the Wi-Fi to work at least. Nothing else works on this machine after I've done. At least the Wi-Fi will. And hopefully the wife will like what she's got. So next up, I'm going to look at doing adding the RAM once I've got that plugged in. Oh, what's going on? There we go, it clicked that time. Brilliant. So again, I will use this tape to make sure that everything is stuck down in the correct places, because you don't want loose bits of cable flapping around everywhere. And the nice thing about this is it's very, very easy to get around the actual parts themselves. There's plenty of space. Even though it's a small machine, it's got oodles of space within here. So next up, let's put the RAM in. Like I say, 32 gigs now of DDR4 Pro. This again is 3200 mega transfers per second, so significantly better than the one that's in there, which I will show you in a moment. So that's that in. So the previous one that was in there was an ADATA 8 gig, 2666 is its speed. So I think the crucial one is really, really going to do well. Okay. So next, let's pop in this USB 3 so that it's in the correct orientation, in the correct place, so that I can pop all this back on like so. So the next step that I need to do is I need to add the SSD. Now I'm going to move this out of the way for the simple fact that I have my SSD and my cooler. So with the cooler, I need to first of all remove the SSD from its packaging, which always surprises me how small these things are. And I expect things to probably get smaller as we get better with the technology. And here's the cooler. It really does look really nice, to be fair. Let's see, will this screwdriver fit? No. So let's remove that. Eat your heart out, Linus Tech Tips. I've had this screwdriver for years and years and years, and it does exactly the same as yours. So remove these 4 screws here. And we can see that this is actually adjustable, so that we can use it for obviously single-sided and double-sided SSDs. And I think I got the one as well with the thermal pads, which is what the blue bit's sticking out the end are, which is nice to know. So we've got the top piece, we've got the bottom piece. Let's have a look. Nice and easy, that's good. Brilliant. So let's peel this pad off the bottom here. This says, not being able to do it. Anybody would think I've never done this before. So one thermal pad, and let's see how this fits. Good. So what I'm not doing is I'm not taking this label off, because this label from things that I've read online is actually aluminium, so it's probably going to help with heat dissipation anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Let me just pop that in there and see how that fits. It probably needs to sit a little bit further forward, so we'll pop that off there. We'll move it further forward like this. Let's just double check again. Yep, that's fine. We shall remove this blue tape here for the thermal pad itself, and there we go. Make contact. Fantastic. Let's get this in here. Let's get the first one in. Helps if I put the screwdriver in the right orientation before I do that. And now the other side. Fantastic. It's going to look all right. It's going to be nice. It's going to keep that memory, or those memory modules, very cool. Hopefully. There we go. And there's the completed module, all ready to go. Looks very, very small, but actually it has a lot of power in there. Let's move all this rubbish out of the way. Let's get our computer back. So as I said before, it sits just here underneath the USB 3. And this is where I find out I put it the wrong way. No, I haven't. Fabulous. That's good. Okay, so now I need a screw. Because it didn't come with a SSD in there, it needs a screw. Fortunately, I have a few of these lying about. I also need a screwdriver that's small enough, because mine isn't that small. This one here is magnetic, so it should hold on to that very, very nicely. Let's screw that down. Excellent, that's all the way in. Fantastic, that's what I needed. And there we go. That is all the relevant parts already installed, ready to go. Just need to put everything back as it was, so that then I can make sure that everything is in the correct orientation. All right, so continuing on with the build. So let's install this hard disk drive back in. So finally, let's plug in the SSD connectors for the power and data. And there we have it. We have our computer all set up, ready to go. Just put the front panel back on. And let's power this baby on. Okay, so as you can see from here, we're booting into the machine now. And you'll see that we actually get a check disk. Unfortunately, the first time I did this, it kind of boot looped and it's come up with a check disk issue, so I cancelled this halfway through. and you should see that we boot straight into Windows, really fast compared to what it was before. I can type in the password and I can go into Windows very quickly. The speeds have increased absolutely phenomenally, and you can see from here that when we go into the performance metrics that the disk is not even sat on 100% anymore. Fabulous. It's actually acting like a normal drive. This machine has improved its performance dramatically, which is really good. Alright, so that's completion of the wife's computer, upgrades and everything. I know it's a little long, but I thought it was worth some detail. I did speed up the areas that I thought I was rumbling on a little bit. If you liked what I did and you'd like to subscribe to my channel, please subscribe below, and I will see you next time.